Hello, folks out there. This episode of the podcast is partnered by Audible. Greg, you know what I love about Audible?
What do you love about Audible,
I
John?
don't have to pick up a book anymore and carry it around with me. In fact, I carry it around in my phone, which is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. They literally keep thousands of titles right on your phone, accessible at any time when you're driving, when you're cooking, when you're mowing the lawn, changing a diaper, doesn't matter. It's all right there at your fingertips, John. They've got podcasts, they've got lectures, they've got some like health and wellness and like fitness series on there that if you just are looking for something to fill that gap, like you're not getting into a book right now, it's all there for you, man.
If you're a member, Greg, what's cool about it is you get 3 titles per month. The first one you can pick whatever you want. Like I've said, I'll probably start hitting up some of those health and wellness books. And then what's awesome is they have 2 Audible exclusives. Exclusives, folks. You can't get it anywhere else.
It's true. That is very true. So if you guys want to get on the Audible train, you can go to audibletrial.com/JATG. That stands for Johnny and the Greg. Hook yourself up with a 30-day free trial. No promises, no nothing. If you don't like it, which I can't imagine you're not going to like it, you can cancel at any time. But the great thing about that is the books you get during your free trial, or if at any time, those books are yours. Like you get to keep them. You can listen to them nonstop, anytime, all the time.
Sounds like a deal to me, man. So if you guys are smart, like I know you guys are, because you already listen to this podcast, sign yourself up, guys. What do you got to lose? It's 30-day free trial, and it's books, it's knowledge. Gotta drink it up.
It is. It is. So one more time, it is audibletrial.com/JATG.
Back at it again, and we have a reoccurring guest, Greg.
We do. We're getting a couple more of those people that actually want to come back and talk to us.
It's kind of
They must
exciting.
like us.
Yes. Nick Cornett, the Wandering Kiltsman, decided to come back because he just finished walking, and I'm going to mess this up, the Continental Divided Trail, right?
Divide Trail, the CDT.
Divide Trail. Yeah, the CDT. So it was a good chat catching up with Nick and seeing what's coming down the pipe for him. He's 2/3 done with the Triple Crown.
Yeah, and if you're wondering what that is, just to save you the Google search, he walked from Canada to Mexico. He walked it.
Yeah.
Start like Canada, like America's hat, Canada, walked down to Mexico. That is amazing.
Yes,
So
it really is.
I'm going to stop talking and just let you enjoy Nick's podcast there.
That's a good idea. So without further ado, Nick Cornett.
The Wandering Kiltsman.
I can't find the record button. There it is. Welcome back, Nick. How are you, sir?
I am living that dream, man.
What dream is that?
I don't even know right now. No, I just got off the Continental Divide Trail not even 3 weeks ago. So I'm letting my legs readjust by only doing short hikes, like 10 miles a day as opposed to 20s.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you don't actually take a break.
No, I can't take a break this time because I'm trying to stay in shape. Unlike last time when I got off the Appalachian Trail, I gained back 70 pounds because I needed to. Whereas this time I'm just trying to stay where I'm at so that way I can hit the ground running on the Pacific Crest Trail.
Yeah,
So-
I don't know if it was the car that we interviewed you in last time, but you actually look like you've thinned out. Is that from the walking? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah? How
Yeah.
many pounds?
No, I've lost at least 60 pounds since I talked to you guys last.
Wow.
But like that was deliberate. I gained back
sure.
70 pounds to do the Continental Divide Trail because I was doing 4,200 miles this year, which I've done about 3,800, and I'm about to start up again on the Florida Trail. So I'll hit 4,200, hit the Pacific Crest, which is another 2,900, and then I'll be right at 10,000 miles in 3 years.
So I know, like with actors and stuff, when they like fluctuate their weight up and down like that. Like some fitness people are like really worried about them, saying that that's not a great thing for an actor to do that. Is that different for like an extreme athlete or a hiker to be able to do that back and forth? Because it's, I'm just wondering, like, does that damage anything in the long run? I mean, they're doing it for a role. I mean, and they're going to extremes. You're gaining weight for like a functional purpose, and then it drops off functionally.
Right, gradually. So I gained back a ton of weight because I know that I'm going to lose it either way. When I started the Continental Divide Trail this year, I was at 230 pounds, I think. Mm-hmm. And when I started walking, I knew that as I was going along, I was going to slim back down. Like, it's going to happen. If you walk 10 to 20 miles a day every day for 6 months, you're going to lose weight.
Yeah, so, I would imagine.
In order to have something to burn and keep the energy up, especially going through Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, like major up and down states, I had to put on a little bit extra weight. And then once I got into Colorado, I just upped my food intake because I had already lost down 50 pounds by then.
Well, not only that, you're probably eating nutrition, like dense food. So you're not like pulling over. You're not eating processed heavy foods. You're eating like, right? Or am I wrong?
Well, it depends. So once you're on trail and you're burning enough calories, like you have to eat everything you can just to maintain.
How many calories you burn a day, you think?
I know I'm eating at least 6,000 calories a day when I'm on trail. Right. Right now, I'm not doing anywhere near that. I'm doing like 3,000 calories a day, just doing like maintenance work, keeping like in shape, but not, starving myself. Yeah. So when you're actually on and you're doing marathons every day, you're basically walking 25, 26 miles, you have to eat 6,000 to 10,000 calories a day, depending on how fast you're going, the terrain, the weather, just so that you don't, burn out.
Okay, hang on. I want to put a bookmark on that because I have a lot more questions here. But I want to let a lot of we have a lot of new viewers now and a lot of new listeners give a real quick little rundown on kind of who Nick Cornett is. So, Nick, it's all yours.
So I am so many hats. I'm a Navy veteran. Through hiker, professional athlete, I guess, because I get paid to go hiking. And then I know it's awesome. I'm also a new dog dad and
we'll get to him in
writer, filmmaker. I do a lot of really cool things because when I grew up, I decided I didn't want to grow up. I went backwards and started doing all the things that I wanted to do. Nice. But most recently, I'm a professional thru hiker. I'm in the middle of my Triple Crown, or 2/3 of the way done with my Triple Crown. I've done 5,000 miles. Thank you, sir. 5,000 miles since April 2019. So I've got 5,000 left to do this year.
Yeah. So the way we happened upon you, sir, is Greg is an avid kiltsman, if I'm saying that correctly, and
kiltwear,
yeah. And he, Greg, you can speak for yourself. Go ahead.
Oh gosh, yeah. I just started getting into wearing kilts, and I rolled across your account on the Instagram page for not Utila Kilts, Damn Near Kiltum.
Yep.
It was Damn Near Kiltum that I came across what you're doing. I'm like, that's kind of cool. Mm-hmm. And so I just started following you, and we started talking, and then John and I started a podcast, and so I sent you a message. Do you want to be in a podcast? And that's how we did our first show with you. Right up, fresh off the trail, you were in a parking lot at a McDonald's, I think, and just sitting in a car for 3 hours talking to us. But that's how we came across that.
Yeah, that was crazy. So so there's 3 on the Triple Crown, and this is just America, right? I'm sure Europe has its own Triple Crown or something.
Yeah, but there's a long list anyway. Yeah.
Well, so you were just done with the Appalachian Trail, right? That's what the Triple Crown's the first one. Is that what it's called?
Right. So our last podcast we did, I was in Florida in the middle of the Florida Trail.
Right.
After finishing the Appalachian Trail. And so I had just finished the Appalachian Trail, which was intense. It's arguably the hardest of the 3, even though it's the shortest of the 3. And then was doing Florida, right before COVID happened, because I know we
Right.
talked, and then it
Right.
wasn't even a month later, people were sending me death threats and stuff to get off trail,
Oh,
and were
gosh.
finding
No
me on
shit.
trail. Yeah,
Really?
that's why
Wow.
I would have finished up the Florida Trail a month later. Or sorry, it would have been a month and a half after talking to you guys. I would have finished up, except for there were people finding me and sending death threats and just showing up. Like,
For
hey,
hiking?
right,
Like,
for
I
being
don't
alone in the
get it.
woods. Right, being alone on a trail, I was spreading the virus. So yeah,
Do they
people
not
were
know how viruses work? I mean, that's kind of you need people around to spread a virus, and there's nobody around.
right. The only person that I was around, except for the rare times that I'd go into town to get like a resupply, which I would wear masks and stuff, just like you're
Mm-hmm.
supposed to do, was Crash. And you guys met him
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
podcast. So it was me and him hiking together, and then people just being crazy. Because if you remember at the beginning,
Wow.
people were clearing shelves. There were no resupplies. Like we
Right.
couldn't
Oh,
find
right.
toilet
Yeah.
paper. We couldn't find the foods that we needed because people were prepping for something that they should have already been prepared for. So it was a weird time. Something about
Yeah,
last
It
month.
was.
Yeah.
I'm
seems-
absolutely shocked that someone would throw a death threat to a guy walking on a trail. Like most of the time, you're by yourself, right?
Yeah. No,
So-
for the majority of the Florida Trail, I was alone. Like there
Yeah,
were no
so-
other people.
So I would think out of anybody, the chances of you catching coronavirus are almost slim to zip.
Right. The only way I was catching coronavirus would be from myself during that
Right.
trip.
Yeah.
From what I understand, that's impossible to do. I mean, I'm not a doctor. I only did medical for 8 years in the Navy. It's, I'm pretty sure I was safe.
Yeah. Wow.
John says he's surprised, but I'm not. I mean, people send out death threats over, video games, so it doesn't surprise me. Humanity is
Right.
kind of sucks at times. So, but since then, you've moved on. I mean, you just got done with was literally from Mexico to Canada, right? Was that the one?
Right. So instead of going Mexico to Canada, I did Canada to Mexico.
Oh, okay.
So me and Crash, a weird way to set it up. We did a flip-flop, which is where we didn't start at Canada because we were waiting for Glacier National Park to open. So we started in Wyoming and headed north through what's called the Great Basin, which is this huge desert section. It was 110 miles. We did it over 10 days. We were going slow because we were hoping that Glacier would open, because the main part of this trail usually starts right at the border inside of the Blackfeet Nation territory and comes straight down the east side of Glacier National Park. Well, they never opened this year. So they said, hey, screw you guys, go do this highway walk on the west side of the park and just walk down with all the tourists, and you can just do it that way.
Oof.
Buddy. I have a big old toddler now.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so now you have a dog. Now I'm guessing this dog is going to be part of the trail.
Oh yeah. So Anubis, who is
Anubis.
wearing a cone right now because he keeps ripping out his stitches.
Oh, shame.
I know, cone of shame. Hi, buddy. You can probably see him back there.
Yeah. No, we've
Anyway.
seen
A little
him.
bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So he found a sharp stick the other day while we were hiking, and we had to get him some stitches.
Ooh.
So he decided
Okay.
to rip him out. He's wearing the cone of shame, but yeah, he's already doing 10-mile days without blinking an eye. So he's a good hiking buddy.
So okay,
Now-
all right. Go ahead, Greg.
Well,
Yeah.
I was gonna say the last time we talked, one of the things that hikers really need to think about is how much you're carrying, like how much is in your pack. So, is having a pet along, is that change the way you're preparing? I mean, he's got to eat too, so I figure. I mean, what is he? I mean, I know for a month of my dog, I've got a 40-pound bag of dog food. You're not taking that along.
No, so he is a 60-pound dog, which means he can carry about 13 pounds comfortably.
Okay.
And he's not eating a pounded dog food a day. There's no way. So
Right.
if we set up our boxes, which is what I'm planning to do, in 7-day increments on the Pacific Crest Trail, the most he's going to be carrying is 7 pounds of dog food and maybe 4 pounds of water, maybe. And then he's got his bowls. So at the most, for his frame and his build, he'll be carrying 12 pounds out of the 13. And then it'll just get lower and lower as the week progresses.
Sure.
So he gets to carry his own stuff, which is great for me. But if it
Yeah.
comes down to it, I can carry him plus his stuff. I'm not too worried about that dog.
Yeah. What that was my concern is like, all right, let's say, and I know my dog isn't built for this type of um adventure, but I would be afraid of like animals you would come in contact with.
So the only major concerns I would have, especially on the Pacific Crest, would be mountain lion and grizzly bear.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when it comes to the rest of the animals, he's loud enough and he gets scary enough that most everything else just runs away.
Yeah.
And even then, with like the bigger animals, mountain lions and stuff, they're more worried about me being there than him. And when we're in areas where those are prominent, he's going to be attached to me the whole time.
You got any weapons? In case of like a mountain lion or a bear?
I don't know if he's supposed to talk about that, John.
If I do, then it would be something that would be enough to take down a bear.
Okay.
Got it.
Yeah.
So you use harsh language.
Yes.
Yes.
Very, very harsh language.
Puff up. They hate that.
Yes, exactly. They really hate that. You're required to carry bear spray through most of the trail once you get north of, well, with this next one, it'll be North California going north up into Washington.
Yeah.
With this last one, we had to carry bear spray from the Canadian border to Colorado, like right there at the northern border of Colorado. So, like, you're carrying it with you. I never had to use it at all.
Yeah.
Crash had to use his because he lost the safety pin on it and didn't feel like spraying himself in the face with it. So he discharged it so that way it didn't go off when we didn't need it to. But, you know, the people that we know that saw bears, including us, like, we never had interactions with them. We never had to, like, scream or yell or anything. They just wanted nothing to do with us.
Any stories that you've ever come across where people, like, walking on that trail have had interactions?
Yeah. One of the guys that we ran into, his trail name was Rocket Man, Kyle Lutz. He just became a Triple Crowner like a month before he turned 21. So we ran into him in Yellowstone, and he had just run into a grizzly coming into Yellowstone National Park that ran and charged him and yelled at him. And he didn't have bear spray because he had just lost it. So it was one of those things where it's like, luckily the bear was just, you know, trying to show off.
Yeah.
And has dealt with people before, so it didn't actually want to, you know, attack him or anything. It was just trying to puff up and be like, "Hey, you're too close to me."
Yeah.
So he got.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got to see 2 grizzlies this year, and neither one of them wanted anything to do with me or Crash. So.
Okay. So all right. So take me down this moment, Nick. So you're walking on the trail and you come across a grizzly. Is this morning? Is this noon? Is this at evening? Is it dark out? Like, and then did you have the moment where you could just sit there and actually appreciate nature, or were you like, I got to get the F out of here as fast as I can?
So, okay. So the first time coming into the Teton National Forest, because we added on the Tetons to the Continental Divide, which should be a part of the Continental Divide. That's a completely separate argument that people have. But walking into the northern side of the Tetons, came through a huge wildflower thing. Like, if you look on Instagram right now, our big thing right now is all the flowers, because walking through, it was like 2 weeks of just solid flowers the entire time you're going through. It was crazy. But some of these were like shoulder length or higher. Well, as you're walking through, I look over and there's a grizzly bear standing up over top looking, trying to see where this music's coming from, because I play music really loud to let them know that I'm there. And I was able to pull out, shoot some video. You see the bear, and then it looks at me. It's like, nope, fuck that shit, and just turned and kept walking. So
that's cool.
It was, yeah. And the second time, Crash and I were on our way out of the Tetons, and it was 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night. It was already dark, and we're walking down a trail. We see a big pile of bear scat. It was fresh. It was still steaming because it was cold out, and I hear something off to the right. I look over, and you see the eyes, and it's just looking at you. And then we all just started walking the same direction down the hill. The bear's maybe 30 feet away from us, just walking like, oh crap, these guys are following me. And yeah, got to the bottom of the hill. It went one way, we went the other on the trail that there were tons of people on. Even though it was 10 o'clock at night, there was tents set up everywhere. It was just, he was there. Like,
wow.
Hey, this is my backyard. You guys are just here.
Yeah, I hear like 30, like you're guessing 30 feet, right? Or did you say 30 yards or feet?
Feet.
You said
Guesstimate. It wasn't that far away.
Oh
You
my
could
God.
smell
So
him. You could see him.
if he charged, there'd be no way out of that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had bear spray. I mean, you just
You just
yell,
throw a
scream,
crash at him and run.
basically. Yeah. That's why I hike with someone slower.
So is bear spray just like? Is it like a super strong pepper spray? Is it a chemical?
Yep.
Is it
So the OC spray that they use for the military and riot control, that's basically what bear spray is.
okay?
It's a oil based capsaicin spray. So you spray it, it gets in their eyes. If they don't run and wash it out super fast, they can go blind and they can feel it that way because it burns that hard. And it works great for pepper spray too. If some idiot decides they want to come out and find me again, I can blind them. So it's a
Wow.
They're
Would
intense.
Would you be more worried because you have hiked in kind of the northern part of North America? Would you be more worried getting close to a bear or to a moose?
Moose.
I've heard moose are just assholes.
So I saw a few moose this time, and again, didn't want anything to do with us because random scary people. The ones wearing a dress and carrying a guitar. It's like the moose keep their distance. They can and they do charge people because the moose's brain is super small, and you're either a threat, food, or a threat, and they'll come after you. And they're bigger than most trucks. So
yeah, I've seen a lot of videos. And those things are enormous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you are standing next to somebody on a horse that's talking, and a moose comes by and it's bigger than the person on the horse, that's when you sit there and go, "Oh, okay, yeah, I'm not getting anywhere close to those unless they're on the ground."
Wow.
So yeah.
Wow. So okay, for those of you that haven't really caught on, Nick's technically a professional hiker. So you spend the majority of your life out in the wilderness walking around. What I was curious about is when you come back, do you tend to, especially now probably, do you come back and you just hate society? Like you come back there and what I mean by that is, are you kind of like you're into your selfies and you guys are worried about your TPS reports being on time and like you're missing the point of just being out there and being connected to nature and you're stressed out about whatever it is we all stress out about. Like, do you ever sit back and just think like, you guys have no fucking clue?
Well, I mean, so that thought's definitely there because I used to be there. I used to work 9 to 5 or 9 to 9 or later. I did the military thing. I was the epitome of the society where it's like, hey, you have to do these things to maintain whatever you're doing. And then a couple of years ago, I decided, you know what, I'm going to do my thing. Sold everything, got rid of the cars, got rid of the houses, got rid of almost everything except for 6 boxes of stuff, which hang out in a basement. And then I go hiking. So when I do come back, it's like, man, I've got 2 bills. I've got a cell phone and I've got Spotify, and that's it. Right? I don't have the car payments anymore, the insurance, the house payment, the other insurance payment, the crazy bills that we all have, right? They stack up. And I come back and I hear people like their complaint is, man, I don't have any money. I'm doing this. It's like, I know for a fact I make less than what you're making right now, even doing what I'm doing. But if you can, simplify, cut it down to a little bit and figure out something that you enjoy, make just enough money to where you can do the thing you enjoy and survive, then you're probably going to do better, and then you can build from there, right? So it's not that I don't hate society. People do get on my nerves a lot.
I'm sure.
Especially being like in the South, walking around in a kilt. There's kind of a culture clash a little bit.
Oh yeah.
But not saying
who's this guy walking out of the forest with a skirt on.
I think it's not even the South. I think that.
Oh yeah, it's more
kilt culture in general freaks people out. So.
Well, to a point. And there's also the people that are like, hey, what tartan is that? And that's when I know I can have a conversation. There's people that like to razz, it's like, no, nice skirt, whatever. It's like, so you've worn a kilt before. Or they just don't know. And then it's a chance or an opportunity to educate people, which is great. But as far as like society in general, I don't watch TV. Like I gave up on TV a while ago. I just caught up on The Mandalorian, which is awesome. But like as far as like I don't watch the news because it's frustrated me
wouldn't watch
forever
that either.
anyway.
Yeah.
I haven't had cable since like 2008. That's not my thing. Um, if I'm watching anything, it's a movie or it's a TV show that I'm absolutely enthralled with. And then as far as like society in general, if I don't know you in my circle, I'll answer questions, like no problem. But if we're not like, if you haven't hiked with me or if we're not, you know, close friends for a long time, I'm probably not going to just walk up and start shit with somebody. And if somebody tries to do that to me, the great thing is that my shoes still work. I can just turn around. Like I'm not out here to, you know, fight people.
Oh, of course not. Yeah, no. I just always thought it would be, you know, as much time as you're out there. Would you say like on a yearly basis, how long are you out in the woods? I mean like even times like now where you're like taking 10-mile walks just to kind of stay in some sort of a shape for your next trail walk. Like out of a year, would you say 75% of it's out on a trail or out in the wilderness?
Yeah, at least. Because last year I had 2 months off trail, I think, where I was off trail between the AT and Florida was a month. Because, sorry. No, I was off trail November, December last year. And then I got on trail to do Florida January, February. And then I got off mid-March. And then I started up the Continental Divide Trail technically June 1st. So, 4 or 5 months I had off trail. So just over half I'm on. And then this year is way shorter. This year I got off November 26th, I think. And then I get to go out on, oh, am I saying that? Yeah. Anyway, I'm going on a trail in California to do a warm up for a little bit. First week of January. Then as soon as that one's over, I'm going over to Florida to finish up the Florida Trail because unfinished business is unfinished business.
Mm-hmm.
And then after the Florida Trail, I get a whole month off before I start Mexico to Canada through California, Oregon, and Washington.
Nice.
So, and I'll be on that till probably September.
Wow.
So, I mean, like you said, you don't have a mortgage, meaning you don't have a house. I mean, I can't imagine you keep an apartment for as much as you're out. So
No,
where do you land? Like when you're off trail, where do you land?
So the goal this time, because this is the last trail to Triple Crown, I'm working on books that are coming out. I've got the YouTube channel. I'm trying to build up more passive income because passive income means that I can focus on things I want. And the goal is after the Pacific Crest is that I'm going to find property and build my own cabin. And that'll be part of, you know, more YouTube content. I'll be building something with my bare hands.
Oh, cool. So you're going to start from scratch and like...
So like off the grid kind of cabin, like no electricity or plumbing or something like that? Or are you going to...
Oh, no. Updated off grid. So...
Got it.
So like well watered. I would love to do solar if it's feasible where I'm at.
Sure.
Because still haven't decided on the where yet. You know, I plan on having a movie theater and a game room and stuff like that. It's just...
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be a nice cabin.
Yeah, sounds like it.
It's the kind of place you want to hang out at.
Right.
Yeah.
It's going to be like a year-round like place to live.
Cool. Very cool.
So when you're not there, can I rent it? Because it sounds
cool.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be done in like 20 years when I actually make it work. Now, if everything works out, that's a big if. I hate ifs, but should everything work out and I get everything working the way it should, I could be able to full-time work on that, shoot video, and get it up and running, and just have a base camp so I can go out and hike the rest of the world. Because the hiking
that's the plan, right? Hike everything.
Hike a lot.
Hike a lot. Did you ever hear of Colin O'Brady?
It sounds familiar. I know his name.
I think he did it. He walked across Antarctica. Is that something you'd want to do?
Okay, so I want to visit Antarctica. Antarctica is on my list of places I want to go to.
Yeah.
As far as hiking across Antarctica, no, I'm all right.
Yeah.
I'll go spend like 3 weeks to a month there, hang out with the scientists and everything, because Antarctica sounds awesome. Not big and cold, but
I agree with you. It sounds awesome to visit. I don't know if I want to do any extraordinary things there.
Right. I mean, it'd be cool. And if somebody gave me the opportunity and was like, "Hey, we'll pay for the trip if you do X, Y, Z,"
Sure.
and it's not gonna, if I'm not gonna lose any arms, legs, or life over it, then sure, absolutely. But walk across Antarctica, I'm all right.
So to prepare for a hike, is it just walking, or do you work on pacing? Do you work on do you carry a certain amount on your back all the time? Are you constantly in training, or is there like you give yourself a break, and whether that's just walking without anything on you, and you know what I mean? You just walk 10 miles just with a jacket on, and then you start, as you know you're about to jump onto a trail, you start building your weight for your pack, or
Right. So when, man, roll it back. When I was getting ready to do the Appalachian Trail, so as the layman getting ready to start a long through hike, I was dealing with kidney failure and kidney stones and was not allowed to walk more than a mile for the 6 months leading up to the Appalachian Trail. Like, you couldn't walk more than a mile a day because it was just miserable stuff.
Yeah.
So I was about in shape for the AT as somebody who does not work out at all coming straight off the couch would be. Like, I was overweight.
Wow.
I was out of shape. And as soon as they pulled the tube out, I was on trail, I want to say 4 days later, 5 days later, like the following Monday. So pulled the tube out in Los Angeles, drove across country, got on trail.
Yeah.
Yikes.
So yeah, I know. Fun stuff. I don't recommend
Yeah.
But in the downtime now, so for maintenance wise, I walk as much as I can. I drive. Like, I use cars, I rent cars, I borrow trucks. Like, I get around. But when I get the opportunity, I go hiking. I just went yesterday, testing out the dog, see how he was doing off leash, and he did great. We did a 5 mile loop off leash, and then did another, it was like 4 miles on leash, just to make sure that he was doing good, and it was great. And that was at
And
Frozen Head State Park.
Are you okay? I don't know
Yeah.
where that is. So I was gonna say, what
Okay.
state are you in right now? Like you came off the trail. Where do you call home? Like, where do you tend to migrate to?
So right now I'm in Tennessee because I've got family here, and then it was getting off trail in New Mexico. Me and a couple family members drove across through Texas, visited friends there, went up to Chattanooga, visited some friends, and came up here to Knoxville. And I got dropped off, Crash got dropped off, flew back to Florida, and then me and the dog have been getting prepped and ready, and Crash is down there doing what he needs to get ready for the PCT, especially financially, because not everybody has like the super passive incomes to do this stuff. Usually everybody saves up, has this nice big egg of money, and then just uses it until it's gone going down the trail. So
Well, that's a little bit like I've always thought of when I started to, like, I read when I was a teacher. I went to a district and they were reading part of the curriculum was Krakauer's book.
okay,
And I was like, so learning about Everest, and like I'm like, how do people do this? Like, how do they? And maybe it's just me being that guy that goes from paycheck to paycheck, but that idea of like these people that save up or they just foot the bill to go, because I think Everest is 3 months total that you have to like travel and take off. I'm like, who can just leave their job for 3 months? And like one guy that in that book did it, he's like a postman, and I'm like, dude, how do you do that?
Well, I mean, if you go and tell your boss, like, you're doing a 9 to 5, and you say, "Hey, I'm going to go climb Everest." First, they're going to say, "Yeah, okay." But then when you're actually like, "No, I'm actually going to go do it. I saved up the money." They're going to be like, "Oh, cool. How much time do you need?" And you say 3 months. They're either going to go, "Okay, that's really cool," or you're fired.
Yeah.
Right. So either way, you're going to go hike Everest. Right. So when it comes to, like, for me, I just left. I told everybody in the industry that I was working with, like, "Hey, I'm going to go do these hikes. It's going to take me 3 years to do it. And I probably won't be back until the end of the hike." well, a bunch of people were like, yeah, okay. And then luckily I have an awesome team with Hide Hooligans and Spectre Artists that were like, oh, cool, we're totally helping you. And I took off. And luckily I've got a pension from the military, which covers food, which is great because I don't have rent anymore. So, you know, I can afford to eat and live. But it's like, okay, that helps me out. But there's people that I've seen out there that I don't recommend this. Get a bunch of credit cards and pay for everything that way, and then get home. And I know, do not do that. But they rack up the credit and then they go home and they pay them off somehow. Or there's people that save up a ton of money, wait till they're like in their 60s or 70s and just start hiking. There's there's all sorts of ways people do it. And I've seen people that have done these hikes for super cheap too. So yeah.
What does your family think? Do they think you're nuts?
Oh, they know I'm nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I can just imagine now. I don't know how your family dynamic works, but I can imagine that if my brother or my dad or my son told me, "Hey, I'm going to go do this hiking thing right off the couch from kidney issues," I'd be like, "What?" Like,
do we need to have an intervention? I mean, that would be what my family would do.
I have a long-standing history with my family of going, "Hey, I'm going to go do this," and then they'll try to talk me out of it. Or at one point, they would have tried to talk me out of it, and I would have done it anyway, and got done and come back, and nothing's changed. It's just I went and did something that I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. So when I said, "Hey, I'm joining the military," I just left and went, and they're super supportive. As long as I'm happy doing what I'm doing, then it's cool. When I said, "Hey, I'm gonna go hike this Triple Crown," they're like, "Okay, what are you doing first?" Like, "Okay, I'm going to hike the Appalachian Trail." They're like, "Okay, cool." So they'd come and support where they could along the trail. Mm-hmm. They'd just show up with barbecue or, just show up, which is cool.
Yeah.
And like, they would see that like, yeah, I'm doing this thing. I'm also getting in amazing shape, which is ridiculous. And I'm also enjoying myself, and my stress is like non-existent except for like physical stress.
Yeah.
And then when I finally got done in Maine, they're like, "Okay, so that's cool. Now what?" So I love when people ask that question. Now what are you doing? It's like, okay, well, now I'm going to do warm-up hikes and get ready for the Continental Divide. Okay, cool. Got through all that stuff, and my parents are like, "Okay, now what?" It's like, well, now I finished up the Triple Crown this year, and I release a bunch of books, and I do all this stuff. Like, okay, cool. How are you doing it? And then I explain, I'm starting here, I'm finishing here, it's going to take me about this long. And then they go, "Okay, that's cool. Then what?" Right?
So it's always that.
Yeah.
Well, I think because people, I'm kind of, I know where they're coming from, because my ultimate question to you is, when these are all done, what then? But I don't know if you even care.
Well, I mean, so there's always that big plan, that big picture, but the great thing is that it can change, right? So as far as anything's concerned, like even anybody, let's say, "Oh, I would love to have X, but I'm only going to do a few things to work toward that while I'm doing this job or building a family or doing whatever," right? I'm living my life, but I want to have this dream, right? Well, I've got one of those too, but at the same time as I'm doing all these really cool things that I can do that are adding to that particular dream. Because with the Triple Crown, I wanted to do these hikes since I was little. I was like, you know what? I want to do these hikes, but how can that benefit me going forward too? Because if I'm doing these things and they don't really mean anything except to me, that's great. It's something cool. But if I can make it to where it also helps toward this dream of having a place that I'm not paying a mortgage on, or I've got, the right setup to be able to keep doing YouTube or keep doing writing, keep doing all these things that I enjoy doing, then great. I would rather work toward a platform to where I can spring off to do something cool too, than just be like, okay, I'm working toward retirement. Great. Yes. Which is fine for some people, but for me, I would rather work toward opportunity. I'm going to keep doing the Triple Crown. Okay, cool. if somebody says, "Hey, do you want to come hike in Europe? Do you want to come hike in Australia?" I've already got New Zealand on board, where they're like, "Hey,
Mhm.
if you pay X amount, you can come hike New Zealand, like the entire thing." It's like, cool, let's do that.
Yeah.
But I don't want to set myself up to be like, oh, and now I'm going to settle down. No,
Right.
that's not really my end goal.
Well, that does answer one of my questions, which was going to be after you. I mean, the Triple Crown is kind of a North American thing. Are you looking at other continents? Are you looking at other parts of the world? And like I brought up Everest before. I know that's much more of a mountain climb than it is like a hike, but I gotta imagine there's like other trails and societies like that in other countries that are like, hey, you can come hike, like you said, Australia, New Zealand, parts of
Yep.
Asia, maybe something like that.
Yeah.
Well, so you always hear the cliche, I want to backpack Europe. Well, that's a thing.
Hmm.
There are trails that go all the way through Europe, and you can stay at hotels every night if you want to, or
Hmm.
backpack through the Alps, which would be cool. So Europe's on my list. The El Camino de Santiago is on there. There's a couple other El Caminos that would be cool. The Tia Aurora, New Zealand, is on my list as a vacation for
Hmm.
hiking after the triple because it's like 1,700 miles, I think. And then I haven't really looked at Asia too much. I don't plan on hiking Russia. Uh, kind of looked
So
at South
that
America a little bit, but it's like
sounds
it just
dangerous.
depends. Yeah.
Well, and when you say backpack through Europe, my mental picture of people backpacking through Europe are a group of 20 something co-eds that are
Mhm.
hopping on like trains and buses. And yes, they are
Yep.
backpacking, but not the I'm going to hop on a trail and I'm literally going to walk through Europe, which to me actually sounds cooler than, you know, going off on
Right.
mom and dad's money to just ride a train through Europe.
Right. Well, actually, one of the coolest ways, in my opinion, to visit anywhere is have the minimal amount of money you can and have to
Hmm.
walk through it. Because like walking through Montana, walking through Wyoming, walking through Colorado, New Mexico, like your budget is spread thin because it's a
Hmm.
long way to go.
Yeah.
And you're having to depend on kindness of strangers, which is still out there. It's still a thing, and they're usually the most real people you can find. Because
Hmm.
if you're picking up a bunch of homeless looking people, you're probably a real looking dude. Like it's like, hey, I've walked across America. I've hitchhiked before. I've been, at the bottom of it.
Yeah.
Let me show you around. If you're going through Europe and you have $0 and you're walking through with a backpack and people are helping you out and hooking you up, they're probably pretty real people and they're the ones you want to meet. So I think it's pretty cool. Well, not $0. Have like $20 or something. You know.
Actually,
I
one of the greatest travel shows I ever saw was put on by Rachel Ray, and I think it was called $40 a day, and
Mhm.
she would go into these cities, and it was just like, let's find this awesome food that the most I spent, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and a snack is going to be $40, and I'm like,
Right.
that's awesome.
for the entire day.
That's yeah, for the entire day.
Okay.
And she was finding like high end, like Food Network level chefs more or less, and just getting some great looking stuff. And at most it was $40 a day.
Yeah.
Nice.
I think that's pretty cool, Nick, that when it's all said and done, you're most likely going to be able to say you've walked across all of Earth.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like
for
that's
the most part, yeah.
kind of cool. Like actually that's not kind of cool. That's cool. Like it's almost you can't fathom it really because if I were to meet you like at a party or something and be like, "Hi, yeah, I'm Nick. I'm the guy that walked across the entire world." I'd be like,
Yeah.
"Okay, Nick." You know,
Yeah.
like
Okay. Oh yeah. Wait here. Let me pull up these pictures. This is me walking
Yeah.
through.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what's been your favorite part of the forgive me, it's called the Sea Continental
Right. So Continental Divide Trail. Sorry.
yeah.
Continental Divide National Scenic Trail, but they
Okay.
say CDT because it's faster.
Okay. So the
They-
CDT, what was your
them-
favorite moment on that trail?
Oh man. Uh.
A lot of them?
That, yeah. And
Well, then it
so
shouldn't be hard to find one.
yeah. The motto for the Continental Divide Trail is embrace the brutality. So, there was there were so many amazing times in Colorado and Wyoming. Oh man. Okay, so we did Type 2 fun. It was terrible while it was happening, but it's an amazing moment.
Okay.
Going through the
Oh.
Tetons, going through the Tetons, there is a place called Lake Solitude, and you do what's called the Teton Crest Trail. And the Teton Crest Trail comes up around the highest points of the Tetons, so you're above 8,000, 9,000 feet the entire time. And then you have to descend from about 8,000 feet to 6,000 feet to Lake Solitude in about 0.6 miles. So less than half a mile, you're
Ooh.
dropping 2,000 feet. So you
That's-
don't necessarily.
That's
Yeah.
a pitch.
Yeah. So
Wait. Okay.
we-
So I'm losing that. Why? Okay. Take me there because I'm not.
Dude,
I'm
they're
not
walking
following.
downhill like this.
no. We
Oh.
went straight down.
Oh, you went straight down.
Oh.
So
Did you
there.
like rappel down?
No, we walked down with a national park ranger who was super cool and met us at the top. We went on, so Crash and I were separated from a bunch of people we've been hiking with for a couple weeks. And we're walking, getting ready to come up to this descent, which on our app, we use this thing called Gut Hooks. It says it's a super hard descent. It's rock climb down. There's ice. There's all this stuff. It's like warning, warning, warning. Sane people stay away. Don't do this. And
So of course you're going to do it.
oh, of course. So we're walking off trail, and we're not even on trail anymore. The trail that's in this app was from oh man, it was like 20 years prior. Like it was from an old Teton map where there used to be a maintained trail there. Well, when we were walking there, it hadn't been maintained in at least 20 years. So it's just we're walking on bearings. We're not walking on a trail. And we run into a national park ranger, his son, who had just graduated college, and his son's friend, who had graduated with him. And he was like, hey, what are you guys doing? Because it's kind of weird that we were that far off trail where there is no trail. It's
Right.
like, oh, we're following this map that we have, and we're going to take this route because it's supposed to be a little bit shorter, which it was. It's about 17 miles shorter, technically. And, we camped in the park. We're headed over here. We're going to be camping over here. And he's like, oh, cool. Well, I've done this twice before. I've worked here for 52 years as a backcountry security ranger. And this is the second time I've ever done this. I haven't gotten anybody killed yet. And I think I remember how it goes. It's like, okay, this is going to be a great story. So we follow John as he takes us up and over these crests where it's straight 1,000-foot drops on either side. So we get this really cool view, and it's amazing and beautiful. And then we come up to a straight cliff, and he's like, okay, now I just have to remember where we climbed down to reach the ledge that we can walk down the rest of the way.
Wow.
So, yeah, the
Wow.
pictures are cool. They should be going up any day now. But it's one of those like aw shit moments where you're sitting there going, this is the dumbest thing I've ever done. I don't think I've ever done anything this stupid before. And you're just staring down, watching these guys that are grown up there that are also shaking a little bit because they're not used to doing this either,
Right.
going back and forth, and then finding the one cut where you have to lower yourself down, catch where your feet are. You can't see it, but you're also carrying backpacks and all this stuff. You finally catch feet and go, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be, and then just stair step down on rock slides and glissade, which we did a couple times where I got to cut myself up a little bit because glissading in a kilt, you don't have any
Oh, yeah.
protection. So,
Oh.
So
Yeah.
would you do that with your dog?
yeah, absolutely. He'd get down
Yeah.
faster than I would. He would get
Huh.
down safer than I would. Just
Okay,
because
so-
it's,
So I'm sorry, Nick. So let's say your dog finds a stick in an area like that. Like like you said, find a stick. Like he needs stitches.
right.
Do you are you preparing like plans of where like the closest like vet is in case he gets it? I'm just thinking when you bring a companion like that,
Right.
it becomes the old, hey, don't come with me, you'll just slow me down. That's why I tell my wife every time we go grocery shopping, don't come with me, you'll
Right.
slow me down and it costs me more.
Right.
So,
So,
So I guess what I'm trying to say in a roundabout way is that now you're in charge of someone else.
So when he found his sharp stick the other day, I'm the one
Yeah.
that gave him his sutures.
Oh, okay.
Right. So part of my training in the Navy, I was a Navy corpsman. I did medical, and
Yep.
sutures was like the bread and butter. Besides
Yep.
giving out Motrin, it was one of those things where it's like, okay, I can do this fairly simply. I had some lidocaine, was able to numb them up,
Numb 'em up.
gave
Yeah.
them the sutures. Yeah. So carrying that stuff, that's nothing. It doesn't even
Mhm.
weigh that much. So if it is bad enough to where he has to go to a vet, then of course I can just get him to a vet. I've got my emergency Garmin InReach that I can hit if I get injured enough. But if I can carry him and get him to a road, I can get him to an animal
Mhm.
hospital.
Okay.
So
You got like one of those harnesses what you just kind of hook them into, like I've seen like paratroopers have that when they're
yeah,
taking dogs into combat and stuff.
I mean I can because I've got enough like carabiners and stuff. Because if it comes down to it, between the dog and the guitar, I'll leave the guitar behind and use the
Sure.
carabiners that I
Good man.
use to carry.
Good man.
Yeah.
Good man.
So yeah. Hey, that guitar's gone everywhere though.
Yeah. So
Um,
is he also like a strategic thing in terms of keeping you warm? I don't know if you spend the night out in the middle of the wilderness, but keep you warm, keep watch type thing.
it's definitely selfish motivation when it comes to having the dog because he is a little personal like space heater for
Mhm.
sure.
Of course.
He is definitely a watchdog. He's got the hound bark, so
Okay.
if he gets upset, like you hear him and you hear him from a long way away.
Yeah.
And then yeah, he's not a big fan of big animals, so he lets me know immediately when there's something big around, especially if they're deer, because oh God, the world is ending if there's a deer nearby.
Yeah.
But as far as like on the trail, he's a good companion to have with.
I'm sure.
And when it comes to like group dynamic, we had a couple dogs that hiked with us on the Continental Divide Trail that just showed up, or somebody came out and hiked with us for a bit, and it changes the group. So like you're used to going 20 miles every day. Well, you get to slow down a little bit because the dog dictates, right? It'll tell you
Mhm.
like dogs don't talk, but they will tell you like, "Hey, I'm done. I'm just gonna lay here."
Yep.
And you can try to
Yeah.
move me, but you're going to carry me, right?
Right. Yeah.
So it's a good way to actually, get people out of their selfish mindset and be like, oh, we have to watch what the dog's doing,
Mhm.
and we can slow down a little bit and we can take our time a little bit more. Or if the dog's ready and raring to go and it wants to do a 25, 26 mile day, then guess what? You're doing a 25, 26 mile day, or else it's going to keep you up anyway. So,
Mhm.
You know what I like about dogs probably on a trail? They don't complain and they don't feel sorry for themselves.
I disagree, but yes.
What part do you disagree with? They don't feel
uh,
sorry for themselves?
they definitely don't feel sorry for themselves. They complain. They'll
Do
complain.
they?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh yeah?
Oh, for sure. Especially
Like
when they're
what?
tired. They'll start whining
Oh,
for
whining.
sure. And
Okay.
then if they're super tired, they'll start dragging their feet literally, or they'll
Really?
slow down a lot. Yeah.
I guess I have never walked a dog 20 miles, so like
Yeah.
all in once. Yeah. So yeah, I wouldn't know, I guess.
Well, I
So
mean, you take breaks. They take naps in the middle of the day. They eat way more than they would at home, and then you listen to them. They're like a little kid.
Mhm.
Just pay attention to what they need.
uh, so you said you're coming up with a book. Tell me a little
Yeah.
bit about that.
Okay, so I'm working on a series. Hey, buddy, of you heard us talking about him.
Yeah.
So RPG IRL is a book series that I'm working on for next year that has to do with a couple things that have to do with the Triple Crown. So one of the conversations that Crash and I have had multiple times is about simulation theory and about how this could all be one big simulation, and just the mental gymnastics of, oh hey, what if this is just one big video game?
Mhm.
So with that mindset, looking at the Appalachian Trail from Springer Mountain to Maine as a video game character.
Okay.
And as you hit certain wickets, there's achievements and um, just the random quirky things that happen along the way that in normal life would be like, this doesn't make any sense at all whatsoever, but in a fiction based setting. So it's wrapped around the trail life video gaming / role playing games, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big Dungeons and Dragons nerd. It's not a secret. Yeah, I know. And it's just kind of a collaboration of all the things that I enjoy the most. So it's
Are you talking
the,
about like okay? Are you talking about like how Pokemon did it, where you have to go out in the on the
oh
trail and catch things in the trail or something, or
no. It's just
no?
first person point of view, written fiction book. So
Oh,
it's
okay. I'm sorry. All right.
yeah. So it's not like a pick your own adventure type book. Although I've thought about it, that sounds like a lot of work, more than just writing a normal.
The game theory that goes into choose your own adventure stuff is ridiculously complex.
Right, and that would be a really thick book for just each individual trail, because there's a book per trail for what I'm working on, and it all has to do with things that I had to deal with, like actual real world situations and what actually happened and how it would play into like simulation theory. Or there's conversations that Crash and I would have where it's like, hey man, the audio here doesn't really match up. Like actually where you're walking through an area and the birds like don't sound like the way they should for a certain area, or like there's no sound whatsoever because it just got suddenly super quiet. It's like, hey, we're still in the middle of the woods and there is no sound. There's no wind, there's no people, there's no animals. It's just dead quiet. And it's like, yeah, I guess they forgot to program this audio.
Oh, I see what you're saying now. Okay. I thought you were telling me like because it's so quiet that like something's lurking out there and everybody's quiet.
Could be.
Or it could be that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
it could be like a setup for a boss fight, just like video games. It's one of those
that's
things.
That's when the music cue changes and you're like, oh,
That's
okay.
true.
And then you find the health pack down at the sign.
Yeah, or like you get into a resupply and you get like a warm meal, or you run into somebody that's got like all this really great stuff and you're like, oh shit, I'm about to go into a boss battle.
Here we go. Yep.
So yeah,
So how does that play? I mean, I've seen it on your Instagram and I just looked it up again, but you have like t-shirts that are paladin, hiker, mage, pirate, rogue. Are you doing like character classes or something like that? Or what's we're about to leave John in the dust with D&D references.
Yeah,
It's going to be fantastic.
It's fine. Well, it's just like adventure, right?
Yeah.
We're appealing to the role-playing game nerds, right? Because I'm a nerd. I get called a dork all the time. I wear it as a badge of pride. But when you're looking at role-playing in general, there are certain classes that people know. And thanks to Wizard of the Coast and Dungeons and Dragons and all that stuff, it's, rogue, paladin, warrior, barbarian, like all the major classes that you always think of in video games and stuff. Like we put them up there like, hey, this is what you are, getting ready to go into this thing. And there is a party that is in the book. So if
to match the archetypes of the typical D&D party.
Right. It's basically the D&D party just as hikers.
Is there ever a situation where they're going to go down the wrong part and have to become like part of the Donner Party?
I hope not. I still have one
Hey, why you got to go dark all the time, John? Come on.
Or because it's a game. There has to be a stake here.
Well, it's based on real world experience, though. I'm just calling it fiction because I can't have it like 100% accurate, or else there's certain things that'll get me in trouble.
Okay, all right.
Certain people are like, "Hey, I think he means me."
Yeah, I think he's talking about us. What? No. Yeah.
Hey, we were talking about past, like what's next? Have you ever thought of down the line that you would take people as a guide, like, hey, you're gonna walk the CDT or something, CTA, right?
So the CDT, right?
Have you ever thought of like, okay, guys, this is what it's gonna cost. This is what you're their guide on this entire adventure that they're gonna, they're taking 3 months off to go do it. And have you ever thought like that could be kind of a way you go with, you become this professional guide on the trails?
That's not my preference, no, because it sounds great in theory, and if it paid enough, maybe. But for me, I work in entertainment. Well, sure. I like my job in entertainment. I loved directing film. I loved writing. I loved working camera. Like the filmmaker side of me loves filmmaking. When it comes to hiking, if I'm babysitting and I'm having to keep people like up and hey, we're doing three months through the woods, you're paying me X amount of money. I don't think I could kiss somebody's ass that long. Because it's like seriously, because you're getting paid to be a guide. That's great for like a week or 2 weeks, maybe.
Yeah, I can see. Yeah, it's a good point.
But when it comes to like a through hike, like my best friends, like people that I love to hang out with, we still clash and we still fight each other. If it's a client and we're going through and we're spending months together, some of them won't come out of there. It's just,
Well, I think even just I mean, you feel you're responsible for them to a certain level. Like, so like let's say they find a stick or whatever it is. I mean, something like that happens. I remember you telling a story last time we were on where you were down in Florida and you were in like chest high water.
Yeah.
And it's Florida. There's snakes, there's gators, there's whatever going on. You're responsible for that person then if you've got a client with you. And I'd be like, oh, hell no. No, I'm not taking you through that.
All right, it's like now that I'm thinking about that,
It's like I realize you're an adult and, you used to have common sense. But as soon as you put your entire everything into somebody else's hands, it's like it's like strapping into a plane. It's like once the pilot's in control, you can't do anything. So for those that have ridden on planes recently, people act like children on planes. They get upset because they don't have their nuts or they don't have their pillow or their blanket that 10,000 people have used and never been washed before. But when you're out in the woods and it's somebody that's coming from a desk job, not to belittle anything, but they haven't been in the woods before, but they're paying you $5,000 for a week to go out into the woods, you're doing everything for them. Like you're not just doing your stuff, you're doing everything for them. And they don't know that snake could bite you or that the big fuzzy bear doesn't want its picture taken up that close. Or when you're in Yellowstone, you don't walk right up to the bison and try to pet it.
Right.
Yeah. So, no, I definitely don't want to be responsible for, other...
Okay,
I get it, Nick. Bad idea. Sorry, I get it.
Damn it, John.
Well, John,
this is why...
No, and even John brings that up, and I immediately went back to that Everest book where, I mean, there are companies that say, we will get you to the top of Everest. I mean, and that's part of the danger that Everest has now is these people who are like me that have a desk job and haven't worked out in a number of years and somehow come up with the funds and the guts to say, I'm going to go climb Everest. They're like, you don't like the cold. Like, you don't own a pair of snow pants. Are you sure you're going to climb Everest? Yep, going to do it. Yeah. And then tragedy happens.
Well,
they never say they'll bring you back down. They only guarantee you'll get up there.
Exactly.
We'll get you.
And on that coin too, if you say, "Hey, I want to go do this," there are people out there that would love to do that. I'm not one of those people. I'm not going to be the one that's going to help ferry people through their, whatever. I'll gladly say, "Hey, you can absolutely do it if you want to be able to do it." And there are people out there that will help you along the way. I'm just the guy that says, "Yeah, great idea. You should totally go do that. I believe in you." And if you succeed,
there's the starting line.
Exactly. And if they succeed, even better, because I'll be like, hey, I told you could do it. And if they don't, I'll be like, hey, at least you tried.
Yeah. Yep. All right, Nick. We're going to break this down a little bit more. We have 5 questions that we like to throw people. Actually, you're the second runner of this. We call this the gauntlet. All right. Okay. You don't have to run. It's just 5 questions that we've come up with that have been topics that Greg and I have discussed on this podcast before, and so we're going to start throwing them at guests to see what they think. All right?
I'm going to be interested in this because of how much you have removed yourself from some of the media and the everyday kind of things. So this will be interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Question 1.
Mm-hmm.
Do you enjoy, or if you could have a choice, would it be pie or cake?
Pie, gluten-free, because I'm one of those people.
Okay, what kind of pie?
Okay.
What kind of pie?
Oh, man. Wish list pie. It'd be pecan. because I don't get those very
Really?
often. Yeah,
Really?
because I mean, there's gluten-free pumpkin pie, there's gluten-free like
Mhm.
pie crusts and fillings, but I've yet to have a good gluten-free pecan pie. Yeah.
Let me go off a little bit with your diet. Do you is your diet kind of based off of I think it's called anti-inflammatory diet, where you're not wanting to you don't want all that inflammation in your body as you're walking?
Okay. So I have celiac disease, which means I
Oh,
can't
okay.
do any flour, right?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
gluten-free, not a fad for me, unfortunately. That'd be
Right.
great if I could do bread and stuff on trail, but I I avoid flour completely as much as I can, and then
Interesting.
I'm supposed to avoid soy because it creates gas. But when you're on trail,
Mhm.
most everything has soy in it, so I just blow everybody out all the time. I just part like
That's another
sport.
reason why he wears
All
the
right.
kilt, folks.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You can't shit your pants if you wear a kilt. But yeah, no, just I avoid flour as much as I can. Anything else is pretty much fair game because I gotta eat what I can.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, we're doing good, Nick. You chose pie. Greg and I are both pie eaters. We're
Yep.
not big fan of cakes. All right. Here's the question number 2. Could Jack from the movie Titanic, could
Mhm.
Jack have fit on the door with Rose at the end?
Easily.
Thank
All
you.
right.
That
Yep.
selfish little bitch, right?
Yeah.
All right, just having him sit in
Hey.
there. No,
It's
God.
just
Okay.
bad
Hey,
filmmaking.
Hey,
really.
she's still not as bad as Jenny from Forrest Gump, but she is
No.
a terrible, terrible person.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe that might be a 6th question coming up. Who's the worst?
Yeah.
Oh, no,
Um,
it's Jenny. Just we
Yeah.
won't even go there.
All right. Number 3. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Yes.
Great.
Any reason?
Well, so it starts out immediately throwing Christmas at you from the beginning. It's
Mhm.
about a guy sneaking through air ducts or fireplaces, as it were, and there's money and people getting drunk and everything else that is known for Christmas. So yes, it's a Christmas movie.
I wouldn't have got a little.
Okay.
I like the chimney. I like how you
Different-
connected the chimney.
Different
That was-
reasonings that I've heard, but they all fit. I like
Yes,
it.
they all fit. Yes. So you're 3 for 3, and the reason you're 3 for 3 is because we agree with you.
Okay.
All right, number 4. And I don't know if you're gonna know this, but you know the show Friends?
Ish.
Okay.
Sort of. Yeah.
This might be
This might be the one that's out of bounds.
yeah. Were Ross and Rachel on a break?
Oh man. Were Ross and Rachel on a break? Well, since Ross is such a terrible human being, I'm gonna say no, they weren't.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay. All right. What made Ross a horrible person? Actually, he's
So
married 3 times.
So there is a glorious compilation on YouTube where
Uh-huh.
it's Friends Without the Laugh Track, and if you go on and watch it, where Ross is talking, he is just a garbage human being. He is
Yep.
creepy and weird. It is just so out there. Yeah,
Interesting. Interesting. That's
Yeah.
I've heard of that.
I
I've
gotta
heard
look
of
that
that.
up. Yeah.
And it's along the same lines because, these shows were on at the same time, but Seinfeld, when like the last episode, they were on trial. They're like, "You guys are terrible human beings," and then they go through all the past shows, and they're like, "Yeah, they are. They're terrible human beings," and we've been laughing at them for 8-9
Yeah.
years.
because
Yeah, actually,
the-
I've heard that if you actually like Friends could not happen in today's society in terms of all the cancel culture and social justice wars. In fact, there was one episode where Joey's trying to turn up the heat in his he's trying to turn up the heat in his apartment so his girl roommate takes off her clothes.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. There's a lot of stuff like that that's just
Right.
Mhm.
it doesn't fit.
Yeah, I can't do that
Yeah.
now. All right.
Yeah, no, I was never a really big fan of that show, and it's mostly because when it comes to laugh tracks, I don't really pay attention to that part, and it's just there's cringeworthy moments in that. Where it's
Oh
like,
yeah.
this
Uh-huh.
isn't funny. Why are they laughing at this? There's nothing funny about this. But yeah, okay.
All right, good point. Good points. Good points. All right, last question, sir. This is probably the most important question, other
Okay.
than the Die Hard and the pie. After finishing your cereal, do you drink your milk or throw it away?
I don't waste food. Drink the
So
milk.
you drink it. Good man. Good
Mhm.
man. Nick Cornett, thank you very much for running the gauntlet. It was a you had a good point, but I'm still going to give you a 4 out of 5
Okay.
because they were on a break for sure. For sure.
Where the points don't matter anyway. So.
Yeah.
It's like whose line is it anyway? Got it.
Yes,
Yep.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Hey Nick, any merchandise? Where can people find you to get merchandise? Hold up one of those shirts. I like the shirt
Okay. Yeah. So we got the hiker shirt. That's along the same lines of the RPG IRL. We've got them in our store at www.thewanderingkiltsman.com. Our landing page, our homepage right now, takes you straight to the shop. So that way, if you go to the website, you can either choose the shop or the main page. There's hats, and I got stickers, but I don't know where I set them at. There's there's backpacks for like day hiking. There's like school bags and stuff in there. There's a lot of really cool stuff. There's the phone covers, for like iPhone and Samsung that are in there that are pretty cool. Both of my producers got one because they're like stoked about it because it says "Got Woods" on it.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that.
So it's a lot of really cool looking stuff. The RPG IRL, like we have a lot of people that are in like D&D gaming community that are all about the shirts, and I love it. I love the fact that we're reaching more than just hikers.
Yeah, I'm thinking I might need a couple, and I will be pointing it out to my my Wednesday night group.
Yep. And a cool thing, we have a Patreon, and for people that sign up for Patreon, depending on what tier, they can get up to 60% off on stuff in the shop. So that's awesome. That's a lot of money to save in a shop, which is great. So,
well, we will link to your site in our description for this podcast down below, and you can find that on whether you're listening through iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. So take a click on that.
Very cool.
Cool. Nick, it's always a pleasure. What's next?
Oh, man. So I'll be in California next month doing a really short hike with some friends. And then I will be going down to Los Angeles to record a song for Spotify, which I announced on live video last week. And then after that, it's the Pacific Crest Trail, which will be 2,900 miles and straight into the history books as one of 500 people in history to have completed the Triple Crown.
Very cool. And I'm sure we'd love to have you on when you finish that up so we can properly open up some champagne and enjoy that victory with you.
Hell yeah.
So,
I'm totally
all right,
down.
Nick. Thank you very much for your time as always. Greg, you have any last words?
Well, as always, is where you're either if you're out in the real world or you're on a trail and you come across somebody, word to the wise, don't be a douche.
And watch out for bears.
Watch out for bears.
All right, for Johnny and the
watch out for
Greg.
these cougars.
Yeah, for Johnny and the Greg, we are out of here, guys. Take care. Podcast out.